So you want to create a photography website? Well, you're in luck, because that's just what I want to do too. And to help you along the way, I'm going to be taking you through the whole process. This series will cover everything from the basics to more advanced features. We'll be going through registering a domain, to setting up WordPress on your web hosting, to installing plugins and themes. Let me explain the whole reasoning behind this. Now I'm going to assume that you like photography and you have watched the odd photographer on YouTube here or there. And I'm sure you've heard them talk about Squarespace and what a brilliant product it is. So you might have played with the thought of creating your own website on Squarespace or any similar service yourself. I'll let you into a little secret here. A lot of these photographers talking about how great Squarespace is don't actually use Squarespace for their own website, which has always struck me as a little bit odd. Take for example Thomas Heaton, and I love the bloke's videos, I watch him all the time, but he does not use Squarespace for his own website, despite them being a sponsor for a large majority of his videos. In fact, if you go onto his website, these two lines here make it pretty obvious that his website is in fact running on WordPress and not on Squarespace. You also might have heard how complicated setting up a WordPress site is and how you have to faff about with MySQL databases and CSS style sheets. Well, it's not actually that complicated. In fact, a lot of hosts offer so-called one-click installers, which make the whole process just as easy as any site builder out there. This whole you have to be a programmer to work with WordPress is just one big myth. There are other reasons to choose WordPress and not Squarespace or other page builders. One big one for me personally is the cost. Now, Squarespace upfront doesn't seem too unreasonable. I mean, it's $12 a month, but that is if you pay annually. Were you to pay monthly, the cost would jump to $16 per month. And just look at this here. Oh, you get a free domain with your new website. But what's that little asterisk? Oh, it's only for the first year. So after that, you're paying another $20 to $70 for your domain. So add around another $4 to that monthly price. Scroll down a bit further and you'll see that you don't actually get to use your own domain for an email address. That's only reserved for the slightly more expensive plan. And I mean, if you've already got the domain, you really want that email, if it's just to avoid all the spam going into your main inbox. With that, you're basically forced to go with the business plan, which is $18 a month if you pay annually. At the domain costs, you're at about $22. That's just too much if you ask me. And don't forget, you've signed on to the annual plan, so you're going to be stuck with it for another year. Now, I'm currently paying a bit less than 10 Swiss francs for hosting, which is about $10, and add to that the $20 I'm paying for a domain, which makes it about $12 a month for my website. And included in those 10 Swiss francs is actually enough space for 10 websites. So with each new website I set up, the average is actually going to be reduced. And with Squarespace, you pay the same amount every single time. Another problem I have with site builders is control. They look at their product just like Apple would look at their iPhone. They basically want you to use the product in a way that they tell you to. There aren't many options for customizations. Take this for example. I used to use Squarespace for my food blog, leonliam.ch, and I wanted to set up Google search snippets on my website. That's the little instructions you get if you do a search for a recipe. With Squarespace, it just wasn't possible to do that. And that's just because Squarespace doesn't expect their users to use such a feature, so it's not going to be included. With WordPress, it's a completely different story. I could just install a plugin that basically does it all for me. And WordPress runs on about a third of the top 10 million websites, so you can rest assured that you're gonna find a solution for your problem if you're using WordPress. And it's not just control over how your website looks and works, it's also about control over your data. With WordPress, you could move your whole website to a different host at any point. And that's because your data still is your data. You can access every single file on your website via FTP and download it if you so wish. With a site builder, your data generally stays with them. There's no easy way of downloading the text you've written or saving all of the images and moving on. They clearly want you to remain one of their customers, and they'll do anything to keep it that way. While the Squarespace templates you can use to create your websites do look really nice and are super clean, there aren't really that many of them, and it's kind of difficult to distinguish yourself and differentiate your website from others. As a former Squarespace user myself, I can almost always tell if a website has been created using Squarespace or not. Squarespace will give you the tools to create a good looking website, but WordPress comes out as clear favorite in terms of design choices, customization options, and flexibility. And those are pretty much the reasons why I think you should be using WordPress to create a photography website and not Squarespace or any other site builder. While Squarespace will give you the option of creating a good looking website using easy to use tools, the cons just outweigh the pros. With WordPress, you can get started out on a shared hosting service for very little money. It has an absolutely massive amount of themes and plugins, and you are the person who's in charge of everything. And actually that might be the only downside I can currently see to WordPress. You're also in charge of updates and security. So don't go for WordPress if you're just looking to set it and forget it. But for everything else, do it. Please remember to subscribe to my channel if you like my content, or at the very least, give this video a like. This series will be continuing, and in the next video we will be setting up WordPress on our host, so make sure you stay tuned. Alright, that's enough from me for one day. Bye.